So I don't actually do album rankings that much now, and that's mainly because they're difficult for me. They're kind of annoying, and a lot of artists I don't feel the need to discuss everything they put out. I started doing them on my podcast, but I kind of didn't love doing that. However, this is a special occasion because now we have a new addition to the Kanye West discography, my favorite discography in hip-hop, in my opinion, the most interesting and discussable discography in hip-hop. So today, I'm going to be ranking all 10 Kanye West studio albums. I won't be doing any collabs. However, I will say, Watch the Throne. Okay, we're talking about all 12 albums from him. Watch the Throne, I think, would be my... I'm going to say it'd probably be my 8th favorite Kanye project. Or no, 9th favorite Kanye project. And if we're including Kids See Ghosts, that would be my 2nd favorite Kanye project. Just adding those two in. I'm not going to be ranking them in, I'm just saying. So I'm just ranking his 10 solo albums. Now that Donda's out, I thought it'd be fun to do this. I have a couple controversial picks. I have a couple not. But really, at the end of the day, I do have a lot to say about each album. So I am going to be discussing fully each album. I've reviewed a couple of these, but I have even more interpretations of those albums I reviewed. So you'll kind of get where I'm going with this review. But in general, I'm just going to discuss all these albums, how I view them, how I interpret them. Really, at the end of the day, I don't think there's not a single bad Kanye album, and I do have an enjoyment for every single album from him. Basically, I would say 9 and 10, I don't love, but I like. 8, I really enjoy. And then 7 and up are some of my favorite albums. So we'll go through those we'll just go through the whole ranking. I don't know how I'm going to edit this video, but it's going to be a lot more in depth, and it's a more special video for me because I love Kanye's discography. So here we go. This is my full ranking of all 10 Kanye West studio albums, including Donda.
Today I thought about killing you. Premeditated murder. I think about killing myself.
Kicking off my ranking, I think I have my most controversial pick. Maybe not my most controversial pick, because I don't have a ton of controversial picks, but this is the pick that I feel like will get me in the most annoyance. Because my number 9 spot is Ye. I think what makes this spot so controversial for people is people do really have a fond love for Ye, and I think it's developed that fond love in the same way certain albums that discuss mental health more have. I see a lot of people discuss this album in the same way they discuss albums like some rap songs and Goodbye and Good Riddance and 17. All amazing albums in my opinion, but very few of those albums I love. And the same thing goes for Ye. I think if there's a Kanye album with the least interesting songs, it's Ye. And really, at the end of the day, there are a couple amazing songs in this one. The ones I really like are I Thought About Killing You, Violent Crimes, and Yikes. Everything else is good, except for All Mine. I've never liked that song. But the whole project, to me, having 3 great songs on a 7-song album is a bigger detriment to me. And having 4 songs that I don't really care about really does kind of damage you out for me. Tracks like No Mistakes, I've never found the vocals that interesting on. Ghost Town's a good track. I really do like Ghost Town. I just don't love it. And what's the other one? What is the other one on that? Oh, it's Wouldn't Leave. I've loved the content of the song, but I've never been able to get into it sonically. Really, at the end of the day, I feel like Ye's just the album from Kanye that I think least does anything. It's experimental, it's weird, but for me, it just has the least interesting content of a Kanye album. Yes, that includes Jesus is King. I think this is worse than Jesus is King, because I think Jesus is King is more enjoyable. I'll get to that one next, but for me, Ye comes in as my 10th favorite Kanye record. I still think it's a solid album. I still enjoy it, but I feel like this is the only Kanye album for me that upon first listen, it's gotten worse over time. I loved it when I first heard it, and ever since then, it's just progressively gotten worse. It's probably around a B+. I do really enjoy it, but I'm just not head over heels for it like some other people are. It's just in general my least favorite. I like it, but it's not amazing in my opinion.
Everybody wanted Yandy, that Jesus Christ did the laundry. They say that we start on Monday, but the strong start.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna rank Jesus is King that high though. Like, I mean, I am saying that like I do enjoy this album, which is kind of a hot take, but I'm not ranking it high. It's still definitely one of his worst projects, and it's not too above Ye for me, because the mixing on this album is pretty bad, and I don't think he really interprets Christianity in a very interesting light like he did on Donda, which I'll get to later. However, I still have a fun enjoyment of Jesus is King that it's hard for me to admit I don't have. There's a lot of songs in this that just have very enjoyable instrumentals, vocals, uplifting messages, and for a 27-song album, this album's pretty entertaining to me. Songs like God Is, On God, Water, Jesus is Lord, Follow God, Close on Sunday are just enjoyable songs to me. Use This Gospel is also a great song. Overall, I think it's a very, I feel like it's a pretty meaningful project. But it's not incredible, it's not amazing, and I would have much preferred heard Yandi over here this. But I do still enjoy Jesus is King, and I'm never going to find this to be as bad of an album as some people do. But I do still think it has its issues. It is kind of a mess. It is a little short, and overall it does have a few issues with it, but I like the road it takes. I, in general, will always enjoy Jesus is King. It's definitely not the most visible Kanye album. It still is down here, and it's probably around a B+, but I do enjoy Jesus is King. I think it's an enjoyable project overall. Now, if you look at my wall, you might be surprised this is down at number 8, but that's just how I feel about this album. At number 8, I got this bad boy right here. 808s and Heartbreaks, which isn't a hot take at all to say 808s and Heartbreaks isn't upper half Kanye. I've seen it upper half. This is an album I respect more than I enjoy. I love this album. It's a very entertaining album, but I respect it as a kind of transition of hip-hop. This album is one of the founding pieces of the general auto-tune emo rap that would just storm the 2010s. And I wouldn't credit all of it on 808s, because I do think you have to mention projects like Man on the Moon as well for being very important in this new sound of hip-hop. And also you have to credit T-Pain. You kind of have to. And you have to credit Lil Wayne on the Carter 3. These kind of records that were coming out in the late 2010s are very important, but 808s is probably one of the most important. It also is kind of one of those starting points for Kid Cudi too, who would become one of the most influential rappers of all time. In my opinion, 808s is an incredibly special album to the history of hip-hop, and it's a very influential album. As an enjoyment, though, I think it's the Kanye album I actually say I know the least. Like, I can't tell you the sound of every song like I can the rest of these albums, but I really do enjoy it. It's a really meaningful album to me. I think the passion in it is very enjoyable. At some points, it does kind of go into the corny lane. It is hard to deny that, but I've always just had a very kind of fondness of this album. I've always really enjoyed it. Tracks like Heartless are just really enjoyable things. And overall, I love it as Kanye in 2008 basically flipping his whole son on his head, barely making a hip-hop record at that point. And while calling it R&B is stupid as hell, I think it's an enjoyable project. I'm not in love with it, but I do enjoy 808s, and I do think it deserves its props as being one of the most influential hip-hop records to ever release.
See his leaders and his followers, but I'd rather be a dick than a swallower.
So like I said, 7 and up are all classics. Yeezus is a classic in my opinion, and I love this album, which is really shocking for me because this is the type of album that I didn't like when I first heard it. This is the only Kanye album, other than Jesus is King, that I didn't like and I've grown into liking. Jesus is King I've only grown into liking enough, like thinking it's pretty good. You went from being a pretty mid 5 out of 10 album to me to being among my all-time favorite records. Like, I'm serious, at least in my top 60. I love this album. This is such an impressive move by Kanye. In terms of being this incredibly intense, darker sound and just raw, grittier sound from him, it sounds awesome. And honestly, this is my favorite produced record ever. The production on this album is incredible. Sounds amazing every song. And songs like Blood on the Leaves, that song, oh my god, I very few songs are as well done as Blood on the Leaves in terms of production. New Slaves to Black Skinhead, I Am a God. There are so many songs that are so impressive. The fact of the matter is, it's also 40 minutes and 10 songs. It is an impressively enjoyable record. The only reason it ranks at 7 and not higher is mainly because I'm not the biggest fan of I'm In It, and I don't think On Sight is the most enjoyable intro. It works as an intro, but it's not the most enjoyable. I've become familiar with it because I just love the album so much, but I don't love it as an intro. But overall, there's very few moments. Also, Bound 2 is a great song, too. Overall, I think Kanye made a very, very, very influential moment on this album as it kind of pushed the cloud rap and the emo rap and the SoundCloud rap that would come in later years. A very influential, important record. And at the end of the day, it's just seriously enjoyable and it's seriously impressive record. And it's very brief and very enjoyable. So I think Yeezus is a certified classic. And I will do anything to get this album on vinyl because it is incredible.
Make it all come to life. Make it all come to life.
My number 6 spot is the newest Kanye record, Donda. I decided to rank this not too high because I can admit I do like it more than Yeezus. I do think emotionally and impactfully and in terms of importance, to Kanye at least, I think this album is the better record between and Yeezus. But I can't put it higher because every other album here is such an important moment in hip hop, to the point where I do think Donda is going to be an important moment in hip hop, but it's hard to say that now when it came out this a week ago. It's hard to say that now. So that's why I put it here. And I do have to admit that the production isn't perfect. It's not fully smoothed out. This is one of the rougher Kanye records, but like I said in my review, I think this is one of the most meaningful things he's ever put out. The love you can feel for God and his mother on this record is so intense. The vocalizations he picks from tons of artists like Don Toliver, The Weeknd, and Vori sound beautiful, and some of the most amazing songs I think Kanye has and will ever make are on this record. Songs like Come to Life, Jesus is Lord, Hurricane, No Child Left Behind, Jail, some incredible cuts. The only thing that puts this album lower for me, number one, is it just not having been around as long, and also because there are a couple tracks that I'm not in love with and I don't think are incredible masterpieces, but overall I do think it is quite the enjoyable record. And for an album that is as dense and long as it is, I think it's a very enjoyable and very easy to get through album. And overall, I think in terms of Kanye records and in terms of how much I feel like Jesus is King and Ye are his weakest albums, this was a massive improvement and easily the best thing he's made since The Life of Pablo.
You're looking at the church in the night sky, wondering where God's gonna say hi. Oh, you're looking at...
Hey, speaking of which, The Life of Pablo is at number 5 on Shocking. I mean, I really, really enjoy The Life of Pablo. And I wasn't a Kanye fan when Life of Pablo came out, so I can't tell you that, the impressiveness. I was very close to putting Life of Pablo at 4. Don't get me wrong, I adore this album. But the biggest reason why I didn't put it higher is mainly because it's hard to not look at this album as kind of a mess. And when it came out, if you hear some of the things that I didn't hear when it came out, but I've heard some of the cuts on the original, oh my god, yeah, no, this thing was a mess when it came out. It also came out on only title, which is stupid as hell. But at the end of the day, Life of Pablo, I think, is one of the most special and important records hip-hop will ever see, because this album was so boundary pushing and so weird that I barely think the influence has yet to be felt. I think this album is so weird and so out of bounds for Kanye, and probably the most experimental thing he's ever done, which is shocking because this is the man who made Yeezus and 808s and Heartbreaks and Graduation. This album, Graduation isn't too boundary pushing, but for hip hop it was. But this album contains so many different sounds in it. You're gonna have a track that's produced by Madlib, like No More Parties in LA. You're gonna have a track that's produced by Young Metro or Metro Boomin, like Father Stretch My Hands by One. You have very meaningful songs, you have very dark songs, you have very crazy songs. Overall, this is just an incredibly fun, all over the place album that all over the place messiness makes it the classic, in my opinion. Makes this a truly amazing record and one of my all-time favorite albums and a classic in hip-hop. Because for me, it's like The Life of Pablo is such an important piece of Kanye, I think. Because this album, I feel like Ye discusses bipolar disorder differently. But Life of Pablo, in terms of an album that kind of dives into that, I think does it much better. Because I think The Life of Pablo fully commits to just embracing that and just going all over the place. Also, I know it's not in the original cut, but the addition of St. Pablo is one of the best. St. Pablo is one of the best Kanye West songs of all time, and easily a top 7 song from him. I adore that song. It is beautiful. On top of that, FML, Waves, Facts is quite the banger. I'm sorry. There's so many songs this album that are just amazing, enjoyable moments for Kanye, and Famous is on this. So I mean, come on. It's a classic. It's one of the best hip-hop records of all time, and I know there is kind of these weird moments too, but I can never deny I will never not enjoy the hell out of The Life of Pablo, and I think it's a very special album.
And when it falls down, who you gonna call now?
At number 4, we have one of the cleanest Kanye records, The College Dropout. College Dropout for me is, I think the whole College trilogy is the cleanest piece of Kanye's discography. They're all very well put together, clean albums in terms of like production and sound. There's nothing rough on them. For me though, College Dropout is one of my favorite debut albums in hip hop, and at least one of the best, most well done debuts. Because Kanye basically came up in the game. There was this point where it was like no one knew how you could market Kanye, and he did it. He did it by having amazing soul kind of sounding production, inventing his own style, not only in rapping but in that production. And he fully embraced that on this record. This production has aged so well and has been used so many more times, not only by Kanye but by other artists. It's just a very iconic album in that sense. On top of that, it even ranks as probably one of the most conceptual things in his discography, as it very much discusses the brokenness of the college system. It dives into very well. On top of that, breaking into a lot of just the culture that college students have to go through. All Falls Down is on this album, and it is one of the best songs Kanye's ever made. On top of that, Jesus Walks is on this too. Slow Jams. I can't even name all the classics on this album, man. There's one I'm forgetting though. I know. Oh, Through the Wire and Family Business, two of my other favorite Kanye songs. Overall, College Dropout is just a very iconic and important moment in Kanye's discography. Not only as just the debut album, but it very much stopped the hip hop game and showing, okay, you have this new guy here. This guy's gonna basically rule this genre for, at least 12 years. So just get ready. At the end of the day, College Dropout is an amazing record. It's aged very well. The only reason it's not higher for me is I don't think it's as just amazing as my top three. My top three are all A+ albums, whether they're all in my A+ club, and which makes Kanye the most artist to have the most solo A+ because he has 3. And the second most is Kendrick and Eminem, who both have 2. Overall, College Dropout's a very important and very enjoyable record, and I think this album has aged very well.
That don't kill me, can only make me stronger. I need you to hurry up now.
Graduation could arguably be the most enjoyable album in hip-hop. I think this could arguably be at least the most accessible hip-hop album I've ever heard. This album is a blast from front to back. Not a single skip for me. Every track is bouncy, energetic, crazy, fun. And at the end of the day, we're given this album that is just so special in Kanye's world and discography. Graduation is such a big album, and I think it kind of changed the course of hip-hop when it came out, because it fully brought this new sound to hip-hop, and it was just celebrated and loved when it came out. Like, this album is nothing like Late Registration in the College Dropout, but it has a much more celebratory, party-like sound to it. Not only is it kind of nostalgic, it's aged like fine wine. Some of these tracks like Stronger, I Wonder, and what's the other one I was thinking? Flashing Lights. Those sounds will be used for decades in music in general. Graduation is such an important album and is such an enjoyable album front to back. There are tracks I'm not in love with. I've never loved Barry Bonds. I've always thought, everybody complains about, what's the one track? It's the Drunken Hot Girls. But those tracks even have their fun merit to them. And just being on Graduation results in being incredibly fun songs for me. Overall, Graduation also probably is the most hit songs by Kanye. I mean, come on. Good Life, Can't Tell Me Nothing, Stronger, Flashing Lights, Homecoming. Come on, that's already like half the album, and those are all huge singles. Overall, you can never deny the importance Graduation had on hip-hop and Kanye. And overall, I think it's easily a top 3 album from him, and I enjoy the hell out of this album on every listen. I used to think that this album was kind of overrated, but I went back and revisited it, and I can fully confirm this album is not overrated, and it is one of the best things Kanye has and probably will ever make. It is quite the important and enjoyable record.
I wanna scream so loud for you, cause I'm so proud of you, and let me tell you what I'm
My favorite of the College trilogy is Late Registration. And you might wonder really why I would call Late Registration the best of the 3, but I mainly think it is the most meaningful to Kanye, and I also feel like in terms of production aging, this album has aged so fucking well. The production sounds like it came out yesterday. Some of these songs like We Major, Drive Slow, Gold Digger, and Diamonds from Sierra Leone and Hey Mama. Oh my god, these songs are so amazingly produced. The production of this album, this is a great example of a second album done perfectly. He took what he did in the College Dropout and he took that sound, he advanced it further and perfected it. He brought a little more of a smooth, kind of more jazzy sound to it, and he did it amazingly well. The whole record as a whole just has so many enjoyable moments for Kanye, celebratory moments, fun moments, important moments. I'd also have to say Hey Mama is probably the best Kanye, at least from the 2000s, the best Kanye song. And I think very close behind Runaway would be my all-time favorite Kanye West song. It is such an important song for him, such a beautiful, emotional song. And that line at the beginning when he says, I'm gonna love you till you hurt no more, and when I'm older, you ain't gonna work no more. Oh my God, that almost brings me to tears every time. I think this album is just so special, I think, to Kanye and the whole world. And I do think Kanye just brought hip-hop to a whole other level on this record of making one of the most enjoyable things I think hip-hop will ever see. Late Registration is sorry, I'm yawning a lot this review. I'm very tired. Late Registration is just an incredibly enjoyable, awesome record. And it's way more easy for me to describe my love for Graduation and The College Dropout. For me, Late Registration is just that enjoyable, that fun, that lovable. And at the end of the day, of the College trilogy, it's, in my opinion, the best and forever will be the best. It is a certified classic, and it's definitely an A+ album.
And I always find something wrong.
However, I will go with the very hot take. Oh my God, no one agrees with this. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is the best Kanye West album. This shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. It is. It is a 10 out of 10 masterpiece. I mean, it's My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. When it comes down to it, I think Dark Fantasy pushed everything in hip-hop to a celebratory high. Because in my opinion, I think in a lot of ways, there are some albums that are better. There's only really... Actually, if you look right there, if you see where I'm pointing, look at my wall of vinyl, see where my pointer finger is? Number 1 favorite album, number 2 favorite album, number 3 favorite album. This is my 3rd favorite album of all time. I adore My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy on all fronts. The production on this album is literally perfect. It has this very celebratory, larger-than-life sound. And I've heard the argument of this album isn't nearly as important to the grand scheme of hip-hop and influence. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy didn't really push the game like Graduation or 808s did. But that's not why it's my number 1. It's my number 1 because I think in terms of this celebration of Kanye West, this is the pinnacle of that. The amount of features on this album are done so well. There is 11 songs, and I could not tell you there's a bad thing about any of them. They're fun, they're enjoyable, but they're emotional, they're heartfelt, they're large, they're grand, they're glorious, they're magnificent. And at the end of the day, we're given this album that feels like a celebration, yet kind of reflection on the darkness of fame. I feel like the first side of the album is on this kind of how amazing and glorious and awesome the rich life is. But once Runaway hits, the album goes down this road of kind of looking at fame at more of a critical sense of maybe this isn't that well. Maybe this isn't that amazing. Overall, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, I think, is an untoppable record. I do think this is the best thing Kanye will ever put out. I have no hesitation calling this an A+. It is a beautiful-ass album. And it truly does set the statement of me saying Kanye West truly proved that he is the greatest hip-hop artist ever on this album. And I do think it is one of the most enjoyable hip-hop records to ever come out. And one of the most magnificent pieces of hip-hop ever. I can listen to this album any day. It is a fucking masterpiece. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is my favorite Kanye record and one of my all-time favorite hip-hop records. But what is your guys' Kanye ranking? What do you think are his best? What do you think are his worst? I forgot to walk the light. Let me know in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe. I will be doing my Drake ranking very soon. Very excited to give you guys that and discuss his discography and his legacy. Gotta kind of go through his projects though to make sure I have it solidified. I'm not nearly as familiar with the Drake discography as I am with the Kanye. I just kind of want to discuss it and discuss his progression and discuss the works I really love from him. See you guys next time. Peace out. What is your guys' Kanye ranking? Them in the comment section below. Bye.